Today, I'd like to show you some of the basic settings of the Termetrics HearCon software. Some of these things that we have to set up first under this cog here, you'd see the first option is pre-test option. So first one is to employee verification on the audiometer. So if you selected me, Ken McDonald, it would come up on the display and say, "Are you Ken McDonald?" If I turn this on, and I'd verify, and then you to make sure you've got the right employee in that booth or in front of that audiometer. There's also questions that can be asked of the employee being tested. Here I went back to the main screen, and under questions, you'll see some of these standard questions that people do before a test. Um, and they can also be shown on the audiometer if we click that on, so they could read the question off the display on the audiometer. The next one is test parameters. So a lot of times it'll be default to OSHA. With that, you only have control of the one frequency, 8,000 frequency, 8,000 hertz frequency, either turned off or on. If you switch to other, you have control of turning off or on any of these frequencies for the test. So either one is, depending on what type of testing you're doing, you can play with that. Also, the language. If we had someone that were going to be testing that's French, we could click this on and the audiometer would read out the instructions in French for that person. There's an end of test message option. So at the end, it would tell them to the person being tested to that the test is completed and to take off the headphones. You may or may want to use that. We recommend that the examiner put the headphones on the person and take them off just to protect the wiring and things like that. The next one down is idle tone at end of test. That really only comes into play if you have multiple audiometers. The system can handle up to 8 audiometers at once. So if someone finishes early, these test tones just keep going with everyone else till everyone is finished, and then everyone leaves the booths at the same time. So if you're only using one audiometer, it doesn't really matter what you have this set to. The next one, starting ear, you could start with the left ear or the right ear. And if you only wanted to check that right ear, you could click this on and we would only test the right ear. It's not very common. So again, choosing whatever ear is an option there. The tone type, pulse or continuous, usually if someone has ringing in their ears, pulse is recommended, but continuous is also an option as well. Minimum test level, we could start out very, very low, like very quiet tones, -10 or 0. And the maximum level here is 90 decibels. These are usually preset. You could play with them somewhat. This is a tone increment. As it's doing the test, the audiometer will increase by 5 and decrease by 10 each time. And that's fairly standard, but you could change that if you wanted to. Retest options. These are now, if there's some kind of an error, it senses something wrong, you can have it try once to fix it, twice, or always. So, for example, this one, retest if adjacent frequency threshold is greater than 50 decibels. So if I'm doing the test and I get a certain reading at a certain decibel value, then the next one over is a huge change. The audiometer is going to understand that's probably not right. Something's changed, something's happened that's not a standard issue. You shouldn't see a shift like that. So it would retest those frequencies. So you could turn all on these on or like choose whatever ones you'd like actually. The room monitor, there's another video on this that covers it in more detail, but basically these are for different frequencies. This is basically an option that's available for the audiometer. It's a microphone that goes in the room and it monitors background noise. So if the level is over these levels, and you can change them, you can type in whatever levels you like. And if it's over that, if you click this on, it'll pause the test. Now, the other video shows it in more detail, but because we could have up to 8 audiometers, you do need to assign the zones. Oh, sorry, I'll just here, I only have really one audiometer, but I could have multiple booths assigned to this one room microphone, basically. But again, the other video covers it in more detail, but you do have to set this up with different zones and link it to the room monitor. And if you want it to pause, you would click this on and it would pause the test if the levels go above these noise levels. The post-test parameters, leave test open for review. I like that because after the test is over, you're able to look at the results. You can have it auto print the notification report, which I'll show you an example of a notification report. Oh, it's generating it here. So you could have that auto print that report. You could have it save that report as a PDF as well and put it in a certain location. So under miscellaneous, I was showing you those questions at the first, the standard questions. So you can have it auto display those. So when you start the test, those questions would pop up, or before the test, actually, questions would pop up. You'd have to go through the answers there. The general test questions are turned on. There's also employee history. So if I click this on, and actually the last one is any distraction during the test, it's literally that question can be added. If I go back to the audiometrics and I look at now we've got a lot more questions, including any distractions during the test, plus all these history questions. The now allow reordering of audiometers. That's if you had quite a few audiometers, you could change the order, move them around. If you're using one audiometer, you don't really have to worry about that. The next one down is more for troubleshooting or it'll log if there's any issues. You could leave it on if you needed tech support help. They may look into those files. And the other two I've never used before. I don't think they're very important. The daily biological check, you can require the listening check. You can require the daily biological check. Um, and you can print out the report. Now it does record these tests and it's recommended to do both, but this would force the need to do it. And that's the main ones. There's something else here for reports, but I've never really get into that, never needed it. And there's some advanced settings too that is password protected. Now, so that's the main. Now you could also restore the defaults if you made a lot of changes here. So if I go back out of this into the audiometric testing, there's other options over here. So I'll click on here. The first one is similar to what we already saw over here. You can change the language quickly. You can turn off the end of test message. Basically, it's the same menu that's already we reviewed over here. Next one down is we could basically reset the booth. So if I do that, it resets the audiometer and basically like restarting it, getting ready for the next person to come in. So I choose a new employee after that to test. When this is the save button, so if you want to save the test, you click this. The next one down here, this is for your daily checks. If I click that, we can do a daily biological, and there's videos on these too. So, but basically this is your daily checks, so you can do this from this button. I close this, and this is the talk over microphone. So if you have people in the booth and you want it to talk to them, you can, with the provided microphone, click on this and then be able to hear you in the booth. So that's the basic overview of the settings in the HearCon software.